talk about all things birds, how to identify them and how to record them on the amazing Aussie Backyard Bird Count app, which is free to download. Webinar will also be recorded, so if you aren't able to stay for the whole recording, or if you have any friends that you think might like to watch it later, we can always share the link later on. And before we go any further, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay our respects to the elders past and present. It's a very special week on the calendar, National Bird Week. It's a great week to raise awareness of birds in Australia and some of the threatened species and what we can all do to look after them, and some of the conservation efforts that are happening to look after our birds around Australia. And also it's a really great way for people to get together and share their knowledge of birds, share their sightings, and yeah, just spend 20 minutes a day getting out into your backyard or somewhere local where you can spend 20 minutes to sit quietly and enjoy listening to birds and recording them and noticing other things that you might see, which is also great for mental health and well-being as well. So along the way, during the webinar, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to use the chat option in Zoom and also the Q&A option. And it'd be really great. We'd like to make this as interactive as possible. So if you have any comments or questions for our special guests, it'd also be great if you could just put a comment of where you're tuning in from, and if there are any birds that you can hear or see in your backyard at the moment. That'd be really interesting for us to see as we move along as well. So we've got some special guests joining us today. One of them is tuning in from Newcastle, I believe, who's Mick Roderick, who is a Woodland Birds for Biodiversity Project Coordinator with BirdLife Australia. And BirdLife Australia is also running the Aussie Backyard Bird Count. And he's an expert on woodland birds and lives in a great part of the world, and lots of woodland birds to enjoy and experience in the Hunter Valley. And he has done a lot of research and fieldwork with regent honeyeaters and swift parrots over the years. So we'll cut to him in a few minutes. We also have Jed Field, who's on the board of the Central Coast Wetlands Pioneer Dairy Trust here, and he'll be here to tell us all about the special site here and what we can see and how it's managed, and how people can come along and visit and get involved. And we also have Allan Benson from the Central Coast group of Birding New South Wales, who's a local bird watching expert and has spent a lot of time travelling around Australia and the world, bird watching, twitching. So before we go on too much further, I'd like to talk about the app. So this week, it's really easy for people all around Australia to upload sightings and recordings of birds that they see in their backyard or at their local park or local wetland or reserve. And you can either do that through the Aussie Backyard Bird Count app, which, as I said, is free to download. And you can also, if you don't have a phone or an ability to access or download apps, you can also go to the website, the Backyard Bird Count website, which we have the link for at the end of the webinar. We can put up on the screen. So yeah, I'd like to introduce Mick Roderick. Can you hear me, Mick?
I can, Nick. How are you going?
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I'm really good, thanks. So just to start off a little bit about yourself, if that's okay. Firstly, do you have a favourite bird?
Ooh. I would have to say regent honeyeater, otherwise I get in a bit of trouble. But my other favourite bird would have to be the Gould's petrel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, an endangered seabird that there's 2 subspecies, and one of those subspecies until recently only bred on the islands off Port Stephens, just north of Newcastle. And we've done some really exciting work in recent times, putting some nest boxes on Broughton Island, and yeah, we had some great success. So yeah, Gould's petrel and regent honeyeater, half and half.
Fantastic. And you also are lucky enough to make birding your career and your profession now. So, and just quickly, how did you get into birding or bird watching and the outdoors and nature in general?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of people assume that I sort of grew up in a bird watching family, but that wasn't really the case. My family was certainly, you know, we did bushwalks and went camping and things like that. It wasn't until university when I studied ecology within an environmental management degree that I really clicked with nature and particularly bird watching. A few of the mates at uni, instead of going surfing, we went bird watching, and you know, we had rivalry between the different field guides, and it was heaps of fun. And you know, from there I've just managed to somehow make birding, you know, sort of massaged birding into my career, so I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, as we've mentioned, today is right in the middle of National Bird Week, and we've got a big focus on the Aussie Backyard Bird Count. So it'd be great if you could tell us a little bit about it and just quickly explain how easy it is for everyone to get involved and take part in it.
Yeah, sure. No worries. Well, I start sharing my screen and talking you through it.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, so even though I am mostly involved with threatened woodland birds, I'm really excited to help promote the bird count, because it's a really fantastic way for people who aren't normally bird watchers to become bird watchers for a week. People like myself and Nick and Allan, you know, we're out there submitting bird lists most of the year, maybe all of the year. But this week is really all about trying to get other people involved. And, you know, if the interest does spark, then you're certainly more than welcome to stay involved. There's a number of ways that people can submit lists in other ways outside of the Backyard Bird Count. So the Backyard Bird Count, as we know, is happening this week. We're up to, you know, Thursday, so we're sort of past the halfway mark. Just a brief bit of background about BirdLife Australia. So we're one of Australia's largest not-for-profit bird conservation organisations, about 120 years old. We've got an enormous membership and supporter base of around 180,000 people. So we're very active in seeking the support of the community in the work that we do. We have 33 branches and special interest groups spread around the country, and the Central Coast is certainly a great supporter of BirdLife's work. So really the aims of the Backyard Bird Count is to, like I mentioned before, to engage the broader community to participate in bird watching. We all think bird watching is great, but it isn't just about bird watching. It's really about experiencing the birds, and it isn't always just about what birds are on a list either. It's also about what the birds are doing. It's a great way of observing nature. If we tried to do this with frogs or bats or something, it would be really difficult. But birds are diurnal. Birds are awake during the day, and they occur in every habitat. So in other words, birds are always around us. So it's a really great way of contributing to citizen science is by getting involved with things such as the bird count. And over time, as all these records come in, it does become valuable data that BirdLife Australia can use to actually see what's going on in our backyards with our birds. And so, yep, it sits within Bird Week. So Bird Week happens in about the 3rd or 4th week of October each year. That's deliberate. So October in Australia is a really important month for birds, because it's a time when our resident birds are breeding, but it's also a time when the spring migrants have returned from being up north to come back south to also breed. So it's a really exciting time for birds and bird watchers. So as Nick has mentioned, to get involved, it's as simple as downloading a free app, or you can also enter records on a website. And one of the beauties of the Backyard Bird Count app is that it has a built-in, almost a field guide function. So if you're not sure about what you're looking at, you can plug in a few clues to arrive at an identification. So there's just a couple of screen grabs there of what the app looks like. So you basically download the app, you get started. You can see there's a button there for the field guide. And then it's really just a matter of choosing a place to enter your 20-minute survey. It doesn't necessarily have to be your backyard. You can go to a local park, you can go to your local patch of bush. But it's 20 minutes. That's deliberate. So the fact that we make all these lists and surveys the same period of time means that we can actually compare information across the country. And you just fill in a few fields there. One of those actually asks you about your birding experience as well, whether you're a novice or whether you're an advanced birder. As you go in to type in the names of birds, as soon as you start tapping on the letters, names will start coming up. So you never will actually have to write out the entire name of a bird. So if you're wanting to select Australian magpie, you can see there, all you need to, really probably MAG is probably enough, and then magpie will come up and you just click on that, goes into the list. And this is a screenshot of the field guide section. So if you're not sure, you just sort of plug in some variables about the size of the bird, the shape of the birds and colours. And then at the end, there'll be a bird will pop up, and hopefully that's what you've looked at. And there's also some information there about that species to help you confirm or otherwise if that's the bird that you've seen or heard. Then you move through to the submit screen, submit the list, and you're away. So it's that simple. There is actually a YouTube how-to video online for people who aren't sure how to do all this. I'm not an app person at all, but yeah, I can function this one and the bird data apps. They're actually very, very easy. So if I can do it, anyone can do it, really. Just some really brief background to what's happened in recent years. So last year we had nearly 3.4 million birds counted across Australia in the backyard bird count, and nearly 90,000 people took part. So as always, we're trying to beat last year's record. I think we got 2.7 million in 2018. So yeah, so each year we're trying to outdo the last, and as we speak, I think we're floating around the 2.6 million mark for birds submitted so far. It probably comes as no surprise that rainbow lorikeets, noisy miners, and magpies round out the top three. And that in New South Wales, we also have things like sulphur-crested cockatoos. But I should say that 2020, let's face it, there's absolutely nothing normal about 2020. But with the impacts of the fires, which have happened since the last bird count, and also the impacts of the rains that we got in late summer, we could actually see some very different results this year. So it's really important that we get as many lists as possible submitted. And I've just went to the live stats and quickly grabbed a couple of postcodes there. So there's Gosford and Wyong postcodes. So between them, we've got about 540 odd lists submitted already, and about 8,500 sightings. So that's fantastic, and there's still plenty of time to get in and submit some more lists. So thanks for the opportunity to promote the bird count, and yeah, looking forward to some questions. And yeah, back to you, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Mick. Yeah, and as I mentioned again, I've had quite a few comments from people over the last few days that how much people have enjoyed just sitting outside and taking 20 minutes out of their day to sit down and quietly take in the birds that they can hear and see, and actually notice things that are around. And if you do it each day of the week, and you might get addicted to it and keep doing it all year.
Be careful.
Also, you'll notice changes as well if you do it at different times of day or different days of the week, depending on the weather or other things. Right. You might get some special birds just happen to be flying over. I had a white-bellied seagull flying over my house, so that's a good one for my backyard list from yesterday.
Fantastic.
So. All right, thank you, Mick. We'll introduce our next guest now. His name is Jed Field, who's an ecologist, and he's been heavily involved here at Central Coast Wetlands for a long time in a voluntary capacity. And yeah, we're lucky to have him today to
Thanks, Nick.
Tell us a lot more about the site here. So I guess before we talk about the sites, because we're all talking about birds today, and you can probably tell that I love birds and like talking about birds. So firstly, Jed, are you a birder or a bird watcher?
I love watching birds, and I love when you're still somewhere and the birds come to you. And this site's a great site for bird watching because it's the public accessible areas make it so easy to see so many species and a range of different species because of the variety of habitat we have out here.
Yeah, fantastic. And do you have a favourite bird at all yourself?
It probably varies depending on the season. I had a glimpse of a blue-faced honeyeater a couple of weeks ago. Oh. That's special for me. I love seeing that blue flash.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're pretty uncommon on the Central Coast.
Yeah,
as well,
that's right.
Yeah, it's always exciting to see them.
That's right.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Central Coast Wetlands? Its history, obviously 100 years or so ago, was started as a dairy.
Yeah, that's right.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
It's got a really intensive agriculture history, this reserve. So it was previously a dairy farm, and it came into government ownership around the year 2000. And at that time, the reserve was gazetted for recreation and coastal environmental protection. And those two things are really important here, and they go hand in hand. And there's currently a board that's looking after the day-to-day management of the land. This site is extremely a range of niche habitats. So we've got behind us the Dairy Swamp, which is a large freshwater wetland. One of the only examples of this kind of habitat in the Central Coast. In terms of cattle, we have grazing the edges, and that's actually really important because it maintains that open wetland vista that helps support migratory waders that don't like timbered woodlands. They like the open wetland vista because they can see the predators. And also we support a lot of threatened species, including raptors. And just recently, as in months ago, I had a powerful owl in one of our riparian corridors. And that goes to show what we're doing out here is working, and we're doing a lot out here. And that's reliant a lot on volunteers. With tree planting projects and management prescriptions to make sure this place is here for the wildlife.
Yeah, fantastic. So also know that many, many thousands of trees have been planted here over the 20 years.
Yeah.
And some of those have been planted specifically for particular birds?
Absolutely. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, in fact, 200,000 trees approximately have been planted out here over the last 15 years. Only the last 15 years. This place was basically paddocks with a couple of remnant trees around. And now we've got living and breathing forests. And we've got species of birds moving in that haven't been seen here before in European history. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, and fantastic that, we're in Tuggerah. It's, viewers might occasionally hear trains going past here, and we're really close to Tuggerah Westfields, for example. And maybe some viewers don't know that the site is here, but it's very special and lucky to have it right here. And also, is the wetland here open to the public to come along and visit?
It is. It's open 7 days a week. So we're located between Wyong River and the Tuggerah railway station. So access is from South Tacoma Road. We're under a gazebo here. This is an awesome elevated space to look over the Dairy Swamp and look at water birds. We've got a number of walking trails around here and picnic facilities. So it's a great place to come out here, bring your app and log your sightings, because that information too really helps inform the management of this site and how we're restoring habitat, which habitat we're restoring for which species.
Yeah, fantastic. And definitely have been a lot of really rare and amazing birds turn up here over the years that have got a lot of people from Central Coast and even Sydney coming up here to see them.
People flock here. They really do, from Newcastle to Sydney, because we do have some rare visitors, like the black-necked stork. And that's, when it's here, it's the tallest bird on the wetland. It's over a metre tall. It stands out. And that species comes from northern areas of Australia. So to have that down here, it is special. Yeah, and it shows that the habitat here is really important.
Yeah, and it's amazing to come and watch them here. And I've seen one out here catching eels and gulping them down whole. So it's pretty amazing. That's
right. And the white-bellied seagulls love this open wetland too, because they're hunting for the eels. And there's plenty in here. As we've been here today, we've heard some splashing around.
Yeah, probably eels. Lots of big fish out there as well.
Yeah.
With the trees that have been planted, so you said around about 200,000 trees, and that's all been done by volunteers, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So everything here's been done by volunteers. I'm a volunteer here, and we're still going. So our habitat restoration is focused on creek lines and buffering those creek lines, getting the stock out of the creek lines, and planting trees along those corridors, which is increasing habitat connectivity, but also providing a range of habitat that support not just wetland birds, but species that like forested wetlands.
Yeah, and a lot of that water is obviously flowing through suburban areas
Absolutely.
and industrial areas of Tuggerah. So
This site benefits the whole catchment. It's
Yeah.
filtering water and providing water quality.
yeah, exactly. So it's improving the water quality in Tuggerah Lakes and Wyong River, as well as
Yep.
locally right here on site
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
All right. Thanks, Jed. That was fantastic. What we'd like to do now is screen a video. So a couple of years ago, Central Coast Council put together a video about the Regent Honeyeater, which has been recorded here in the past, critically endangered species that Mick Roderick mentioned earlier as well. And one of the main reasons that some of the species of trees were planted here, such as the swamp mahogany, was because they're a winter flowering tree that benefits the Regent Honeyeater if they visit the Central Coast in winter. So we can pass over to that video now with Ash and Andy, our technical crew in the background there, and we'll listen to that.
Oh, look, there's one. Oh, look at their amazing colours. Oh, see them there?
The beautiful Regent Honeyeater was once a common sight in the forest and woodlands of southeast Australia. However, they are now listed as critically endangered.
The Regent Honeyeaters declined because of habitat loss on the tablelands and slopes of New South Wales.
Because of the loss of habitat, everything's cramming for the same small amount of resource.
The forests surrounding Tuggerah Lakes provide important habitat and a winter food source for Regent Honeyeaters and swift parrots. This is one of the reasons the lakes has been designated a key biodiversity area. A dedicated group of volunteers at Central Coast Wetlands Tuggerah have been working hard to create new habitat for these special birds.
They set up a nursery. We collected the seed on site. We collected seeds from 49 different plants, grew them on site, then planted those seedlings in, and over 110,000 trees and shrubs have been planted on this site.
Planting trees also stabilises the soil and reduces stormwater runoff. This new forest at Tuggerah is helping to improve the water quality in Tuggerah Lakes.
The Wild Plant Community Nursery specialises in the supply of local provenance plants from the Central Coast with the aim of putting those plants back in the local bushland.
Taronga Zoo has been breeding Regent Honeyeaters to boost the population in the wild.
The captive breed and release program here at Taronga has been going since 2008, and we've released 295 birds into the wild. So after we release them, they're monitored by a group of volunteers.
If the Regent Honeyeater population is to recover, we need more habitat, and we need to learn more about where the birds go.
We can all do our bit to help.
Volunteer with the Central Coast Wetlands or the Wild Plant Community Nursery, join a land care group, take part in the Regent Honeyeater surveys. For more information, download Central Coast Council's multi-touch books from iTunes.
All right, so great video there to give us a bit more of an overview of the wetlands, and especially those drone shots there really give you an idea of the size of the land here and just how many trees have been planted. You can see all the trees, especially on the creek lines there, which, yeah, as Jed said, are really fantastic for habitat, not only for, I guess, the target species they were planted for, but then all kinds of animals that move in afterwards as well, from insects to birds and mammals. All right, so we'll move on now to our next guest, Allan Benson from the Central Coast Group of Birding New South Wales, who's a very knowledgeable and experienced and well-travelled birder. I think he's travelled probably to every corner of Australia pretty much to see as many different birds as he can, and over his lifetime he's seen around about 800 species. Is that correct?
That's correct, Nick. 806 to be exact.
806, okay. Wouldn't want to sell you short there. And I'm sure you've got lots of amazing stories and adventures that you've experienced along the way with, with your family and friends. Do you have any particular favourite experiences or birds?
Well, as you said, I've been to a lot of places in Australia, and it's been an experience to go to some of those remote places. And just as an example, I saw my 600th bird on Christmas Island. On Iron Range in Cape York. My 700th in, no, the wrong way around. No, the 700th in Christmas Island. My 800th was in Western Australia. So I've been to Ashmore Reef, I've been to Kangaroo Island, I've been to Lord Howe Island, I've been to Norfolk Island, I've been to Torres Strait, I've been to lots of interesting places. So it's amazing where birding takes you.
Yeah, fantastic. And on the Central Coast, we've got a lot of different species. I think in any given year, if you put in a little bit of effort, you could see you know, over 250 species.
That's right.
And lots of different habitats. Do you have any particular favourite birding spots on the Central Coast?
Yeah, look, my favourite birding spot on the Central Coast is the RTA Reserve, which is a land care area just the other side of the expressway off Arimba Creek Road. It's a mixture of rainforest and more open forest, and some wonderful birds turn up there from time to time, and the land care group do a fantastic job as well. And you've asked everyone else what their favourite bird is, so yeah. I'm going to say it's the male regent bowerbird. So even though that's not an uncommon bird, and I'd see it 6-7 times a year, it takes my breath away every time I see it. It's just a spectacular bird of black and yellow and black and gold. It's just a wonderful bird, and that's one of the places you see regent bowerbirds is the RTA Reserve, for example. But no, this is another favourite spot of mine. It's a great spot to come. Over the years, there's been some rarities turn up here, as you mentioned before, some of the rarer waders like wood sandpipers and pectoral sandpipers, etc. But we get some good birds here, and it's an easy place to bird, and there's a variety of habitats here as well.
Yeah. So while we've been speaking here today on the webinar, you've been looking around at what birds are around here and doing a Aussie Backyard Bird Count. So also while we talk, if we have the chance, Ash in the background here can put up some photos of some of the birds we'll talk about quickly. So is there anything interesting that you've seen out here in the last 20 minutes?
We've seen a white-bellied seagull, which was nice. A top-knot pigeon flew into the fig trees behind us. The fig birds are calling in there. We've got a lot of water birds. We've got a stack of pelicans out there. There's a black swan with 2 cygnets. The striped honey calling. There's a coal calling, which we'll talk about later, I gather. Yeah. Want to put the shot of the coal up?
Sure. I think Ash has a shot of a eastern coel, or a common coel, as people sometimes call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're a very, very noisy springtime visitor.
They drive people crazy because they seem to call day and night. They become relatively more common on the coast because they're a cuckoo, which means they're a parasite, and they lay their eggs in other birds' nests. And the common bird that they parasite are wattlebirds and little wattlebirds, and they've become more common on the coast as people have put grevilleas and other flowering trees into their gardens, and they're quite aggressive honey eaters, and so they've become more common, and therefore the coals have become more common as well.
Okay.
The other visitor we get is the channel-billed cuckoo, which is an amazing bird because it's got this huge bill, and it makes this really raucous call as well. And interestingly enough, it's become more common on the Central Coast as well, because its most common bird that its parasites is pied currawongs. Now, in times going back, we never used to get pied currawongs on the coast in winter, but in summer, sorry. So as the privets become more prolific and the currawongs feed on the privet, then we're getting more channel-billed cuckoos on the coast as well. We've got plenty of cormorants here. We've got shots of cormorants, Ash.
Yes, we've got a little black cormorant and the great cormorant that we have. Often sit on the fence over there, but they're not sitting there right now.
No, but I've seen both today, so that's an interesting bird. And Jeb mentioned the black-necked stork, which is a really spectacular bird. There seems to be a pair hanging around the coast at the moment, which is good. Maybe they used to breed on the coast, going back in time, and probably back in the 20s. Their range has gone further north. They breed up in Hexham and Tomago and places like that in the Hunter. Hopefully they might breed down here as well, so that would be nice. It's interesting with global warming that we're actually seeing more species on the coast than we used to see. And the example of that is the osprey. And they were a rare bird 20 years ago. Now we've got about 7 or 8 pairs breeding on the coast, often on council property, you'll be pleased to know, such as at Mariners Stadium, at the Yerina Works Depot, and they built a special platform. Council built a special platform for them at Mariners, and also a special platform at the Works Depot. They're also at South Kincumber Sewage Treatment Works, and there's some up further north as well.
Yeah, I actually went and had a look at the nest on Riley's Island in Brisbane Water yesterday. I think there was 2 ospreys sitting on top of that. So
you think they've got eggs, or
it was very hard to see. It was a long way away, and it was 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
But they were sitting there that night and that sunset. So hopefully
they've become more common. We're also getting birds like Brahminy kites, which are still relatively rare on the coast, but they've been sighted regularly this year. We never used to get them at all. Noisy pitter was a bird we only used to get it in autumn. They're a very spectacular bird. If you can see those, they're a rainforest bird. Now they're breeding on the Central Coast. So, you know, it's as things warm up, we're seeing a different range of birds, and maybe that's the story of the black-necked storks as well, that they'll, you know, they'll come down here and breed, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have a picture of a pelican there, Ash? We've got lots of pelicans there. There's about 10 or 15 roosting over there. A very common bird on the Central Coast. Obviously, they have the pelican feeding at the entrance, and that keeps them around because they get fed every day. I said there's a black swan here as well, and what's interesting with the black swans is that the Tuggerah Lake system is counted as what's called a KBA, Key Biodiversity Area, and the reason for that is 2% of the world's population of black swans can be on Tuggerah Lake at any given time. There can be up to 6,000 or 8,000 on the Tuggerah Lake system when conditions are right. And the other reason is there's 2% of the world's population of chestnut teal on the Tuggerah Lake system as well. So that's a really important area for natural area. And as you're well aware, the little terns are going to nest again this year, we hope, and they're a vulnerable bird. And Council also puts a lot of effort into protecting those birds, building a fence so that they don't get disturbed while they're nesting, and monitoring, doing a good job there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And they've just started arriving in the last couple of weeks, so looking forward to some breeding happening there.
Yeah, I saw 50 inbreeding plumage yesterday, and there's some courtship behaviour going on. So despite the disturbance of the dredging and everything else that's happened with the channel being opened and closed and then opened again, hopefully they will breed there.
Yeah, definitely. And so for people watching that would like to get a little bit more involved or find out more about birds on the Central Coast, or where to find them, or you know, how to identify a bird if they see it in their backyard, if they get a photo or a video recording. Can you tell us a bit more about the Central Coast Birders?
Central Coast Birders is a very active group. We have a monthly meeting at the Progress Hall at Tuggerah where we have a guest speaker, etc., etc. We do have 2 outings a month, a half day and a full day outing, 4 camp outs a year where we go to various places, and the camp happening at Sandy Hollow this weekend, for example. If you're just a little bit curious about what goes on, we do have a Facebook page which has got about 550 members, and the photographers post their photos on it, and the sightings get posted on it, and it's a good way to keep in touch. If you do want to become part of the Facebook site, please follow the directions and answer all the questions, otherwise you won't be on it. If you're interested in birds, the simple way is to buy a bird guide. There's a number of good bird guides around. They're about $50, and it's when you're new to birding and you don't know what you're looking at, it's a lot of fun going through a bird guide to saying. And then when you actually find it, it's a nice feeling of satisfaction that you've identified it rather than somebody else said what it is. Pair of binoculars is a good idea, and you can spend from $150 to $3,000 on a pair of binoculars. So obviously you get what you pay for, but if you're beginning to bird, you don't want to be spending $3,000 on a pair of binoculars, but they are really useful to pick up the field marks and of the birds that you see.
Fantastic. And and it's also great for potentially beginners to go along to some of the outings that you have, not only so you can learn how to get to and where to go at particular sites, but also, you know, get to talk to people and help identify them and ask questions as well.
Yep, and that's right. You know, one, you learn the good sites to go by yourself, but 2, you get a bit of a guide of how to identify the birds. Learn some of the bird calls, which is a really important aspect of birding. Modern birding these days is about bird photography. Digital cameras have become relatively cheap. Going back in the days of slide films, you've got to be selective of how many pictures you take. These days they can fire up hundreds and get one good photo. So it adds a whole new dimension to bird watching or birding, and a lot of our now good bird watchers have come to bird watching through, or birding through photography, and the photographers do the same thing that the twitchers do. They're trying to get a photo of every bird, or they're trying to get the optimal photo of a particular species.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so many different avenues of birding as well, and I've also got the New South Wales Twitchathon coming up next weekend as well, so that's another way for people to get involved for the not only the keen twitchers, but also people who just like to get out and have a relaxing couple of hours birding. There's different sections of the race.
Yeah, there's the full-on Twitchathon, the 30-hour one, which is taken very seriously. But there's, as you said, there's also the more relaxed. It's basically a fundraising activity, and this year the funds are going to do some more studies into what is the only endemic bird in the Sydney region, which is the rock warbler, or the rock warbler, which occurs in an area, on the sandstone area, and we do get them on the Central Coast. They're not common, but you can find them, and they're a very cute little bird in a very restricted habitat. So a bird that could be under pressure if it gets overdeveloped, but that's why the funds are going to that.
Yeah, awesome. All right, do we have any questions that have come through recently, Ash or Annie? Nothing new? No? Okay. Well, if anyone does have any, feel free to send them through shortly. We're about to wrap it up, but before we finish, I'd just like to remind everyone to get out there and do some birding. 20 minutes is not long to take. You can do it in your lunch break. You can do it before work or after work, or now with daylight savings, it's great. You can even do it while you're having dinner on the veranda or something like that. And yeah, don't just do your bird counting during National Bird Week. You can obviously do it any time of the year through other apps, the eBird app or the Bird Data app, which are free to download as well. And they're also great to look up. You can look up where certain birds have been found, which helps you to go and find new interesting places as well. So also like to thank the photographers. I had some local photographers send through some beautiful photos that Ash has shared while Alan's been speaking. So I'd like to thank Daniel McEwen, Christina Port, Jared Southerly, Jeff White, Nicola Markovina, and Warren Chad for sending through and letting us use those photos. And hope everyone enjoyed watching our webinar today and hopefully learnt something new. And yeah, hope to see you out and about birding on the Central Coast shortly. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.